Welcome back to another segment of Behind the Scenes of the Waltons. There were any number of standout recurring characters on the Waltons and guest stars and things like that. But one of the really unique ones was the character of Yancy Tucker. So today I thought I would touch a bit more on the actor Robert Donner, who played Yancy Tucker. On the IMDb, which is the Internet Movie Database, there was a little mini biography by Kelly E.F. Weeb, and I thought I would share some of that with you for starters. Robert Donner was born April 27th, 1931 in New York City and grew up in New Jersey, Michigan, and Texas. Robert joined the Navy after he graduated from high school and served almost 4 years. After he left the Navy, he stayed on the West Coast and worked as a shipping clerk, salesman, bartender, commercial artist, gardener, and insurance investigator. He attended the San Fernando Valley State College, which is now California State University Northridge, at nights taking courses in art history, psychology, and speech. During this time, Robert Donner lived in Studio City and became friends with actor Clint Eastwood, who lived in his apartment building. Clint urged Bob to study drama, telling him he was humorous and had a good face. When Bob was not acting, he was active in athletics and was known as one of Hollywood's most enthusiastic golfers. He was a member of the former Hollywood Hackers and carried a 7 handicap and was the leader of a group of entertainment industry professionals known as Don Porter's Thursday Golf Club, as well as joining others at many of the celebrity golf tournaments, who raised money for various charities around the world. Robert also played in many tennis tournaments and was frequently called upon during celebrity nights in which he performed stand-up comedy and promised not to sing. Over the years, I did a number of celebrity tennis tournaments. I did a few golf tournaments, but I'm not much of a golfer. And fortunately, it was always team things and stuff like that, and usually some form of best ball. So occasionally, I might hit some sort of shot that we could, if you had to take someone's shot now and then, they could take, it's like, take that, I may never hit another good one. But clearly Bob was head and shoulders above me as a golfer. And I was a decent tennis player, but not a great tennis player. And we played mixed doubles or doubles. And so, again, it was a lot of fun. And mostly we were there to raise money for the charity. And so we were all happy to go and do that. This excerpt from his Los Angeles Times obituary. Proud of and known for countless roles in movies and television, Bob never stopped working. He was beloved as Exidor on Mork and Mindy, as Yancy Tucker on the Waltons, and as a favorite sheriff, bad guy, or wild-eyed preacher. His feature credits include Cool Hand Luke, Bite the Bullet, Vanishing Point, Under the Rainbow, and a number of John Wayne westerns. And in excerpts from his Los Angeles Times, the Robert Donner 75 character actor played oddballs on TV in films by Valerie J. Nelson, who included the fact that he was a founding member of Harvey Lembeck's comedy improv group, the Crazy Quilt Comedy Company, which counted John Ritter, Penny Marshall, and Robin Williams among its alum. In an interview at the Foster Brooks Pro Celebrity Golf Tournament in 1982, in the interview, he describes his sense of comedy as bizarre, off the wall. I like ad-lib comedy, which is very difficult. You have to be prepared and you have to have a certain amount of courage, because if it doesn't work, you're stuck with it. When I was getting started, the word was that it's very easy to be blue. In other words, you can get laughs with dirty jokes very easily. It's tough to be funny and be clean, and I think that was the direction he chose to go. This quote on his advice to aspiring actors was found via Industry Central, where he said, being an actor is like going to Las Vegas with your life. You never know when opportunity will knock. I believe that everyone who is serious gets an opportunity. It's a matter of being ready when that opportunity presents itself. Study your craft and take any job you can get. In Bad at the Bijou by William R. Horner, 1982, this was a Q&A, and he was asked, would you like to play leading roles someday? And he said, certainly, but I don't want to quit playing character roles either, and I don't want to quit playing heavies, referring to playing antagonists. And I love to play comedy. I don't care what kind of work it is, just as long as it's work. I enjoy working. I'd be very happy to do a new job every week. Question. Do you have a favorite role or something you consider your best work to date? Answer. I couldn't really say what's my best work. That's up to someone else. That's up to an audience to tell me what they think is my best piece of work, which part they were particularly affected or moved by. In the end, that's who dictates it all. I'd say my favorite role is the next role. What I've done in the past under the given circumstances, I did the best job I could. This is not to say I couldn't do it better in 5 years, because I'd have 5 more years to observe human nature, 5 more years of laughter, tears, fear. I'd just be a better instrument in 5 years, so maybe I could do a better job then, but at the given time, I did the best job I could. Question. What about money? Do you feel like you've been fairly rewarded for your services? Answer. I don't know whether I'm adequately compensated for my work or not. All I can say is that the only time I'm really happy is when I'm sitting on a set. When I die, I'd like to die on a set. I love actors. I love to be around them, and I love to be working, and I'm always pleasantly surprised when a check arrives. They've paid me for doing what I love. I also came across this piece of trivia about him, that he was the only actor aside from John Wayne to appear in all 3 Howard Hawks Western trilogy movies. Rio Bravo, 1957, he was uncredited. El Dorado, 1966, he played Milt. And Rio Lobo, 1970, where he played Whitney Connor. Other shows he worked on TV were, he also worked on Little House on the Prairie besides the Waltons. He worked on 8 is Enough. Falcon Crest, he did 5 episodes. The Fall Guy, he did 5 episodes. Ralph Waite's series, The Mississippi, he worked on. How the West Was Won series, he did 4 episodes. Gunsmoke, he did 3 episodes. Adam 12, he did 6 episodes. And then, of course, Mork and Mindy, he did 23 episodes as Exidor. And it was interesting when he was talking about that kind of ad-lib comedy and where it's not all planned out. And I know Jonathan Winters was a lot like that. I did a tour with him, a travel thing to Southeast Asia. I was over there 3 weeks, and he was part of the group of celebrities that were sent over there to do different sort of promotional things. And Jonathan was like that. He would just explore the humor in things, how he saw it, and sometimes the things were very funny, and as Bob Donner said, sometimes it just kind of laid there and it didn't really work. I remember one time he lived near the Warner Brothers studios in Burbank, and there was a Baskin Robbins nearby, and I remember going in there one time during, I think, probably a lunch break or something, and Jonathan was in there, and he had everybody captive because he was testing material. He was doing a comedy routine, and people would try to maybe leave, and he'd like put them on the spot. And I was like, I have to go back to work. And I remember on the airplane flight to Manila, and Jonathan walking up and down the aisles for the entire flight, doing comedy routines, for those of us who were there in first class. And so that kind of humor it's a real gift, and Bob Donner had that kind of sense of humor. I mean, which you saw in Mork and Mindy. I think a lot of Robin Williams and material with Bob Donner was, I think they had a lot of fun playing off each other. So, in real life, Bob could be very serious at times, but he sure could do a wonderful job with these kinds of kooky, out there characters like Yancy Tucker. Besides the television that Bob did, he was also in High Plains Drifter with Clint Eastwood, Chisholm with John Wayne, The Nutty Professor, and as he said, Rio Bravo and Rio Lobo. And he died June 8th, 2006. Of course, on the Waltons, he played Yancy Tucker over the first 7 seasons. He actually did 19 episodes, starting in season 1, where he did The Sinner, The Dust Bowl Cousins, and The Deed. Then in season 2, The Chicken Thief and The Heritage. In season 3, he was in The Chivalry. In season 4, The Burnout, of course, when Ben ends up going to stay with Yancy and all of Yancy's animals, which we all went, in what world do the Walton parents let Ben stay and live with Yancy Tucker? That one was kind of funny, but it made for good humor within the show. And Bob had so many fun types of things that he did. Of course, The Chicken Thief has a lot of humor and a lot of heart in it. He was also in the season 4 episode, The Quilting. He was in season 5 in the episode The Comeback, The Baptism, when Yancy decides to get baptized. He was in the 2-part episode The Wedding, and he was in episode 12, The Best Christmas. Then in season 6, he was in the first episode, The Hawk, that introduced our new Reverend Buchanan, and where he goes and is going to play poker with the guys, and Yancy's one of them, in trying to convince them to perhaps come visit the church. Then he was in season 6 episode The Grandchild and The First Casualty, and that was where we saw Yancy get married to his on-screen girlfriend, Sissy, who was also played by Bob Donner's real-life wife, Cissy Wellman. So it was sweet to see the two of them work together, being a married couple and then playing a married couple on the show and having a relationship on the show. So that was very sweet. At one point I did a chat with Cissy Wellman, who played Sissy on the Waltons, and she talked and shared stories about Bob Donner and his life and career and just him as a person. So you might want to also, if you want to understand a bit more about Bob, you might revisit those segments I did with Cissy Wellman to learn more about Bob. And then he finished up in season 7 with the episodes The Obsession, The Bow, and The Boosters. And then we saw him one more time in one of the reunion movies. He was back for A Day of Thanks on Walton's Mountain, where Jonesy makes a deal with him to get his Yancy's turkey, and then Jonesy doesn't really have the heart to slaughter Yancy's turkey for Thanksgiving dinner, and Yancy has come to dinner, and he's thinking, oh, he can't eat the turkey because this is his beloved turkey. And then we hear the turkey gobbling outside the window, and we discover that Yancy didn't have the heart to do it either. So that was sort of sweet. Just a little bit of an overview of the life and career of the wonderful actor Robert Donner, who played Yancy Tucker and was a part of our show for those 7 years, and we were so glad to have him. It was always such fun to have him back on the set. He was great to work with, and he did have a wonderful sense of humor. So I hope you have enjoyed learning a little bit more about him. I will be back next time for more behind the scenes of the Waltons and more Ask Judy. Thanks for watching.